Welcome back to episode 6 of the Sleepy Podcast. Today I'm going to be reading an article from Wikipedia called Hot Fuzz. If you do enjoy, remember to like and subscribe at the start, as you may be asleep by the end. Hot Fuzz is a 2007 action comedy film directed by Edgar Wright, who co-wrote the script with Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg, Nick Frost and Jim Broadbent are the stars of the film, and it centres on two police officers investigating a series of mysterious and gruesome deaths in a West Country village. It is the second and most successful film in the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, succeeding Shaun of the Dead of 2004 and followed by The World's End in 2013. Over 100 action films were used as inspiration for developing the script. Principal photography took place in Wells, Somerset, Edgar Wright's hometown, over 11 weeks in early 2006. Visual effects were developed by 10 artists to expand on or add explosions, gore and gunfire scenes. The film opened on the 14th of February 2007 in the United Kingdom and April 20th in the United States, to box office success, grossing $80 million worldwide against a budget of $12 or $16 million. The film was praised by critics for its performances, direction and humour. In 2020, Empire ranked it number 67 in the list of 100 greatest movies of the 21st century. In order not to reveal spoilers, I'm just going to read the first paragraph of the plot section of the page, as it just sets out the landscape of the film. PC Nicholas Angel, a high-achieving officer in the London Metropolitan Police Service, is promoted to sergeant, but his colleagues arrange for him to be reassigned to the small rural town of Sanford, Gloucestershire, a regular Village of the Year winner. Angel is soon frustrated by the mundane nature of the village and his lazy and incompetent colleagues. His partner, PC Danny Butterman, is a fan of buddy cop films and son of Inspector Frank Butterman, Angel's superior. Simon Pegg as Nicholas Angel, a police constable who is promoted to sergeant and transferred from London to Sanford. Nick Frost, a police constable, and Danny Butterman, a young cop who loves buddy cop films. Jim Broadbent as Inspector Frank Butterman, Danny's father and the police inspector at Sanford. Paddy Constantine as Detective Sergeant Andy Wainwright of the Sanford Police. Timothy Dalton as Simon Skinner, the manager of the supermarket at Sanford. Bill Nye as the Met Chief Inspector Kenneth from the Metropolitan Police Service in London. Billy Watshaw as Joyce Cooper, who runs the hotel where Nicholas stays. Edward Woodward as Tom Weaver, a professional who represents the Neighbourhood Watch Alliance and looks over the town with a number of surveillance cameras. Bill Bailey as Sergeant Turner, both twin brother desk sergeants at Sanford. David Bradley as Arthur Webley, a farmer at Sanford who has a huge stockpile of weapons and a sea mine. Adam Buxton as Tim Messenger, journalist at the Sanford Citizen. Olivia Coleman as PC Doris Thatcher, the sole female police officer at Sanford. Ron Cook as George Merchant, a land developer who has a large mansion in Sanford. Kenneth Cranman as James Reaper, a farmer at Sanford. Peter Wright as Roy Porter, Mary's husband. Together they own a local Sanford pub, The Crown. Julia Deakin as Mary Porter, Roy's wife. Kevin Elton as Sergeant Tony Fisher. Martin Freeman as the Met Sergeant from the Metropolitan Police. Paul Freeman as Reverend Philip Scooter, a clerical in Sanford. Carl Johnson as PC Bob Walker, the oldest officer in Sanford Police. Lucy Punch as Eve Draper, an actress and city council member. Anne Reed as Leslie Tiller, a florist. Rafe Spell as Detective Constable Andy Cartwright. David Threffel as Martin Blower, an actor. Stuart Wilson as Robin Hetcher, a town doctor. Rory McCann as Michael Armstrong, the lurch, an employee at Skinner's supermarket. Popper as Not Janine, Joe Cornish as Bob, Chris Waite as Dave, Eric Malson as Bernard Copper, Joyce's husband who runs the hotel, Lorraine Hilton as Amanda Paver, the headmistress at the local school, Patricia Franklin as Anatole Roper, a shopkeeper, Stephen Merchant, who many listeners may know as the creator of The Office, as Peter Ian Staker, a resident of Sanford who calls about a village swan going missing, Tim Barlow as Mr. Teacher, an old man resident in Sanford. Ben McKay as Peter Cocker, a shoplifter in Sanford. Alice Lowe as Tina. Maria Charles as Mrs. Reaper. And Steve Coogan, Peter Jackson, Kate Blanket, Garth Jennings, and Edgar Wright, all as uncredited cameos. Production. Director Edgar Wright wanted to write a direct cop film because there isn't really any tradition of cop films in the UK. We meant that every other country in the world had its own traditions of great cop action films, and we had none. Wright and Pegg spent 18 months writing the script. The first draft took place 8 months into development, after watching 138 cop-related films for dialogue and plot ideas, and conducting over 50 interviews with police officers for research. The script was completed after 9 months. The title was based on various two-word titles of action films in the 1980s and 1990s. In one interview, Wright declared that he wanted to make a title that had really little meaning, like Lethal Weapon, Point Break, and Executive Decision. In the same interview, Pegg joked that in many action film titles seemed to be generated from two hats filled with adjectives and nouns, and he'd just go, okay, that'll do. While writing the script, the film's director and writer, Edgar Wright as well as Pegg, intended to include Frost as a partner for Pegg's character. Frost revealed that he'd only do the film if he could make his character Danny Butterman. And filming. During the latter half of 2005, working title films approached several towns in the southwest of England, looking for an appropriate filming location. Pegg commented that we're both, meaning Pegg and Wright, from the West Country, so it seemed like it was the perfect and logical thing to drag those kind of ideas, and those genres and those other cliches back to our beginnings to where we grew up, so you could just see high-octane balls-to-the-wall action in Froome. Stow on the Wold was also considered among others, but after being turned away, the studio settled for Wells in Somerset, which is the director Edgar Wright's hometown. Wright commented, "I love it, but I also want to trash it." Wells Cathedral was digitally painted out of every shot of the cathedral city, as Wright wanted the Church of St. Cuthbert to be the centre building for the fictional town of Sandford. However, Bishop's Place is identifiable in some shots, and was used itself for the setting of some scenes. While shooting scenes in their uniform, Pegg and Frost are often mistaken for genuine police officers, and asked for directions by passerby. Filming also took place at Hendon Police College, including the driving school and skid pan and athletic track. Next to Hendon Hill Mill, where there is Finchley Nurseries, is located off the flower shop scene was filmed. The final scenes were filmed in the surviving ruins of Waverley Abbey. Filming commenced on the 19th of March 2006 and lasted for 11 weeks. After editing, Wright ended up cutting an hour and a half of footage from the film. Outside references. Self-references. Wright has said that Hot Fuzz takes place in elements in his amateur film Dead Right, which he described as both Lethal Weapon set in Somerset and a Dirty Harry film in Somerset. He uses some of the same locations in both films, including the Summerfield supermarket, where Wright used to work as a shelf stacker. References to Shaun of the Dead are also presented in the film. In one scene, Nicholas wants to chase a shoplifter by jumping over garden fences. However, Danny is reluctant. Nicholas says, "What's the matter, Danny? Never taken a shortcut before?" He smiles assuredly before jumping over the fence, 3 in a row. According to the DVD commentary, Pegg vaulted over 3 fences, and a stuntman did a backflip over the 4th. When Danny attempts it, he trips and falls through the first fence. This is almost identical to a scene in Shaun of the Dead, including the fall-through scene fence gag, albeit with the pratfalling role reversed. In Shaun of the Dead, it happens to Pegg's character rather than Frost's, as he falls over the fence rather than through it. In the DVD commentary, it says that Frost purposely looked back at the camera after crashing through the fence to show that he had done the stunt rather than somebody else. Frost's character, Danny in Hot Fuzz and Ed in Shaun of the Dead, have a liking of Cornetto ice cream. Pegg and Wright have referenced the Hot Fuzz as being the second film in the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, with Shaun of the Dead as the first and The World's End as the third. Other films. Various scenes in Hot Fuzz feature a variety of action films from DVDs, such as Police Story 3, Super Cop, and scenes from Point Break and Bad Boys 2. Wright revealed that he got permission from every actor in each video clip, including stuntmen, to use the clips and for the use of the DVD covers, had to pay for the rights for the respective studios. The film parodied cliches used in other action movies on the topic of perceived gun fetishes in these movies. Despite this, Pegg maintains that the film is not a spoof, in that they lack the sneer and lack of parody that have to look down on their source material, because we're looking up to it. The film also includes various references to The Wicker Man, in which Edward Woodward had played a policeman tough on the law and order. Special effects. To illustrate the destructive of the mansion as a result of a gas explosion, gas mortars were placed in front of the buildings to create a large-scale fireballs. The wave of the fire engulfed the camera, and to achieve that effect, gas mortars were used again, but were fired upwards into a black ceiling piece that sloped up towards the camera. When the sequence was shot at high speed, the flames appeared to surge across the ground. Final scenes of the film, the Sanford police station is destroyed by an explosion. Part of the explosion was created by using a set model that showed its windows being blown out, while the building maintained intact. The destruction of the building was depicted by exploding a miniature model of the station. Similar to the work in Shaun of the Dead, blood and gore were prevalent throughout the film. Visual effects supervisor Richard Briscoe revealed that the rationale for using large amounts of blood. In many, many ways, the more extreme you can make it, the more people know it's stylized in the humour to inherit how ridiculous it all is. It's rather like, eventually, Limbless in Black Knight, in the Monty Python and Holy Grail. The most time-consuming gore sequence involved a character's head being crushed by a section of a church. A dummy was used against a green screen, and the head was detonated at the point where the object was about to impact the body. Throughout the film, over 70 gunshots were fired, were digitally augmented. Briscoe's rationale for adding the additional effects was that the town square shootout, for example, is full of extra little hits scattered throughout, so that it feels like our hero characters really do have it all going off all around them. It was a great demonstration of how seemingly very trivial enhancements can make a difference when combined across a sequence. The first two teaser trailers were released on the 16th of October 2006. Wright, Pegg and Frost maintained several video blogs, which were released at various times throughout the production of the film. Wright and Frost held a panel at the 2006 Comic-Con convention in San Diego, California, to promote Hot Fuzz, which included preliminary footage and a question and answer session. The two returned to the convention again in 2007 to promote the US DVD release. Advanced screenings of the film took place on the 14th of February 2007 in the UK, and the world premiere was on the 16th of February 2007. The premiere took place included escorts of motorcycle police officers and the use of blue carpet instead of the traditional red carpet reception. Hot Fuzz received critical acclaim. The review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes reported a 91% approval rating, with an average rating of 7.65 out of 10, based on 203 reviews. The website's consensus reads, "The brilliant minds behind Shaun of the Dead successfully take a shot at a buddy cop genre film with Hot Fuzz, the result being a bitingly satiric and hugely entertaining parody. It has a Metacritic score of 81 out of 100, based on 37 critics, indicating universal acclaim." Ollie Richards of Empire praised the film's chemistry between Pegg and Frost, saying, "Almost a decade together, they're so clearly comfortable in each other's presence that they no longer feel the need to fight for the punchline, making them terrific company for 2 hours." Philip French of The Observer, who did not care for Shaun of the Dead, warmed to the comedy team in this film. The film also received positive reviews in the United States. Derek Ellie of Variety praised Broadbent and Dalton, especially good as Angel's hail fellow well-met superior and oily number one suspect. As a homage to the genre, the film was well received by screenwriter Shane Black. Despite being mostly praised, not all the reviews were positive. The Daily Mirror gave Hot Fuzz only 2 out of 5, stating that many of the jokes missed their target, as the film becomes more action-based. Anthony Quinn of The Independent said, "The same impish spirit is spaced in Uncorked here, but it has been totally indulged." In 2016, Empire magazine ranked Hot Fuzz the 50th on their list of the 100 best British films, with their entry stating, "The second in their planned trilogy again nails the cliches, with everything from Point Break to Bad Boys 2, both openly referenced, humorously homaged. Pegg's natural chemistry with longtime real-life pal Frost remains endearing, as ever. Elsewhere, the Scooby-Doo meets Scream mystery is peppered with Britain's finest talent, playing in England's small-town cliches to great effect in brilliantly inchorous meeting of sleepy rural life and stabby violent action." Box office. The film generated £7.1 million in the first weekend of release in the United Kingdom. On the 14th of February 2007, on the 20th of April, US opening weekend, the film grossed $5.8 million from around 825 cinemas, making it the highest per cinema average film of any in the top 10 that week. Its opening weekend take beat from the $3.3 million opening weekend gross of Pegg and Wright's previous film, Shaun of the Dead. In its second weekend of release, Rogue Pictures expanded the film's cinema count from 825 to 1,272, and it grossed $4.9 million, representing a 17% dip in the gross. Altogether, Hot Fuzz grossed $80,573,774 worldwide. In 9 weeks, the film earned nearly twice what Shaun the Dead made in the US, and more than 3 times the gross in other countries. Home media. The DVD was released on the 11th of June 2007 in the UK. Over 1 million DVDs were sold in the UK in the first 4 weeks of its release. The 2-disc set contained a feature film with commentaries, outtakes, storyboards, deleted scenes, a making-of documentary, video blogs, featurettes, galleries, and some hidden Easter eggs. The DVD also features Wright's last amateur film, Dead Right, which he described as Hot Fuzz without the budget. Due to the above release date, the film was arrived in Region 2 DVD earlier than the theatrical release date in Germany of 14th of June 2007. In the commentary with director Wright and fellow filmmaker Quentin Tarantino, they discussed nearly 200 films. US DVD and HD DVD release on the 31st of July 2007. It opened at number 2 in American DVD sales chart, selling 853,000 units for over $14 million in revenue. 1.9 million units have been sold, acquiring the revenue of $33.3 million. The HD DVD edition has more special features than the standard DVD release. A 3-disc collector's edition was released on the 27th of November 2007, and a Blu-ray edition on the 22nd of September 2009. The soundtrack album Hot Fuzz Music of the Motion Picture was released on the 19th of February 2007 in the United Kingdom and the 17th of April 2007 in the United States and Canada. The US release contains 22 tracks, and the North American release has 14. The film's score is by British composer David Arnold, who scored the James Bond film series from 1997 to 2008. The soundtrack's album Hot Fuzz Suite is a compilation of extracts from the Arnold score. According to DVD commentary, the scenes where Nicholas Angel at the convenience store while leaving Sanford and his return to the police station while arming for the final shootout, found in the track Avenging Angel, was scored by Robert Rodriguez, who did not see the rest of the film while writing the music. Other music from the film is a mix of 1960s and 1970s British rock: The Kinks, T-Rex, The Move, Sweet, The Truggs, Arthur Brown, Cozy Powell, and Dire Straits; New Wave, Adamant, XTC, and the Glaswegian indie band The Fratellis. The soundtrack album featured dialogue extracts by Pegg, Frost, and other cast members, mostly embedded into the tracks. The song selection includes some police-themed titles, including Supergrass's Caught by the Fuzz, as well as Here Comes the Fuzz, which was specially composed for the film by John Spencer's Blues Explosion. That is the end of this episode of the Sleepy Podcast. If you did enjoy, please leave a like and a thumbs up. If you're still awake, there are loads more episodes you can listen to, so please like and subscribe, and good night.